The battle for supremacy is fought hard. The road to victory is perilous. There are many triumphs. There are many failures. There have been many box raids. But the score is never settled.
Hey everybody, today I've got a special video for you. This one's been a few years in the making. I've been collecting beast boxes for a few years and reviewing them here on YouTube for quite a while now. Regular viewers already know that part of my reviews usually includes a figure rating that I have called the box grade. I've finally arrived at number 52, and I wanted to use the occasion to revisit some past ratings. The Beastbox line has evolved quite a bit over the past few years, and that alone warrants a comparison to earlier releases. For my part, the one constant is they've always been through the same rating system, and that elicits some obvious questions. Did I slip up anywhere? Was I too generous? Or was I too harsh with any figure's box grade? With full hindsight, what would I have rated differently? Today I'm going to cover everything that's had a box grade, what I got right, and what I'd do differently. First of all, let's establish a baseline for what I'm considering a box grade. I'm only counting individual box grades. There have been a few exceptions to what was shown. For example, Icicle was in the background during Down Spiral's rating, but wasn't itself rated. In the case of the Firefighter Heroes, there were individual ratings and an additional one as an average score for the set. For the Evangelion Beetles, I couldn't separate them. They're all so beautiful that I had to rate them as a set, so that's what I did. And the box grade had to have a total score. I once tried to rate the original BB-01 Dio. Let's just say that I wrote that check, and he cashed it. So starting off, Dio is definitely a character, but... Alright, watch what you say about my mother. Yeah, well, you and what? So moving on to this review of reviews, I want to call out a few things. My first ever box grade was BB-13DQ Good Luck. The graphics for this box grade rating debut stands apart from every rating since. It's the only one that's had the ratings on the left and completely different style for the total. Also, fun little fact, I had toyed with alternate names. The rating system originally might have been called the Beast grade. It's worth noting that this is the first time I described what 0 points means. A total failure. To date, I haven't given a figure 0 stars, but that's always a possibility and it's been considered. Endymion's score holds up, but it's also an example of where the box grade is more of a reflection of the actual metrics than how much you might actually value a particular figure. It's one of the lowest ratings I've ever given to a figure, and inarguably doesn't have a lot going for it as far as something you'd play with, but it's still a really cool vehicle. I'm going to circle back to this a little later on. Dummy Stands Alone is the only figure whose rating I actually changed after I was done filming, since part of it broke while I was taking photos for the wrap-up. Like anything else, my reviews directly reflect what I'm working with at the time of the recording. This issue just happened to slip in before I was done editing. Let's run through these real quick. And we're left with 9 ratings that I think are worth revisiting. We're going to touch on these one at a time. For BB-11 Trident, features, I dropped this to 2 out of 5. For articulation and form, I considered dropping this to 2 out of 5, but the key point about this category is articulation and form. And given the nature of animals, which can be a huge variety of different shapes and sizes, there's never going to be a one-to-one comparison from one animal to another. So that's where the word form comes into play. This category is really meant to reflect accuracy to a given animal's form and how well its inherent mobility translates to a figure design. So looking at Trident more closely, I do think 3 out of 5 is accurate to what 52Toys produced for this particular figure. And that brings Trident's revised score to 21 out of 30. For BB-09 Echo Blaster, for construction I'll give it 2 out of 5. I did have a part break on mine, but I think 1 out of 5 stars was a tad harsh. But I stand by this low rating, since those 2mm foot pegs are vulnerable to breakage, and this was something that 52Toys was apparently aware of, as they had revised this to a 3mm peg for later releases. With the score bump, Echo Blaster's revised rating moves up to 24 out of 30. For BB-37 Vaporwave, I'll drop its features down to 4 out of 5. It has enhanced production techniques, but it's still not wildly above and beyond a standard Beastbox release. For construction, I'm going to drop this to 3 out of 5. It has relatively loose joints. By comparison, a later release called Lotus is a much higher quality production piece. All things considered, I'm revising Vaporwave's box grade down to 24 out of 30. For MB-26 Bin Bin, I'm raising the fun factor to 5 out of 5. It's highly posable, and as I've pointed out with this review, a figure like this doesn't have to be consigned to its own IP, and it can be paired up with any number of other 6 or 7 inch action figures. And it is really fun to fiddle around with. That bumps Bin Bin's box grade total to 27 out of 30. For BB-32, 36, and 40 Evangelion Beetles, I'm bringing the transformation to 5 out of 5, the fun factor to 5 out of 5 for a final score of 28 out of 30. Transformation is fun to do, it's fairly intuitive, and it also has a fun jet mode. As one of these Beetle modes is fun on its own, with their color schemes and added value action figures, this should have been an easy 5-star rating. Honestly, what was I smoking when I put this box grade together? For BB-66 Commando, its features should be 5 out of 5. If Demiborger can get a 5-star rating based partly on its bonus item, which was the case, then Commando definitely deserves the same rating. That gives this Merchant of Death Monitor Lizard a total score bump to 24 out of 30. For BB-16 Sharkira, I'm going to give its character 5 out of 5. I outline what makes it a great character. Sleek, deadly design, and irreverent humor graphics really point to a maximum rating. That brings Sharkira's box grade to 23 out of 30. For Sacred Power Robo, I'm dropping its construction to 3 out of 5. I think my concerns about the transparent plastic and loosening joints are founded. At least on Firepower, its legs are already loosening up. The revised final score drops a point to 23 out of 30. And for the IB-13 Alien Xenomorph, I'm dropping construction to 4 out of 5. Mine has a shoulder joint cracking and it's probably going to wind up breaking. The revised final score drops a point to 23 out of 30. So, what does a box grade mean? On its merits, it's a product review, but it's ultimately an opinion. Obviously, most of these are based on what I observed. If a part breaks while I'm recording, that's going to reflect in the final score. But it's all relative. I've even contradicted myself. For example, I rated the AMTS Lunar Exploration Team Endymion well below its counterpart Acteon, but went on to say that I like rockets and I wanted that more than I wanted the crawler. It lost points on merits but won me over because it's a freaking cool looking shuttle. My point is, box grades are a number and opinions vary. In the end, we all vote with our money. This was a nice opportunity to take a look back at my reviews and the insane amount of time and effort that I put into these figure ratings. But there's still so much more to go, and I'm looking forward to what's coming down the line. As always, I'll appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like or a comment, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss my latest videos. Thanks again, I'll catch you in the next one.
So, that X-Mattingly, huh? What'd you think of this review?
You suck! I'm gonna cut you!
I liked my box grade.
Well, aren't you something?